Hey everyone, this is the last module of the 13 weeks to Total Wellness Experience. This is module number 6 as we go into week 9 of the experience. This will take us through the last month, and hopefully this information, I'm just really excited to share, what this information kind of sums everything up and is a culmination of what we've already done in the first 2 months. And so anyway, without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into the content and share the simple concept of practice with all of you. "30 days in space." So I read this really amazing article several years ago about the NASA program. And so it was really, this article always stuck with me, and I've always referred back to it, and especially with developing this program. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read the article, the pertinent parts of the article to you. I have them shown here on this slide. So back in the early days of the space program, NASA designed an experiment to determine the physiological and psychological effects of the spatial disorientation the astronauts would experience in the weightless environment of space. NASA needed to know if the environment of space would have some unexpected negative consequences that would endanger the astronauts or their mission. Would they black out and be unable to function? Would they experience some psychotic event that would leave them incapacitated? NASA scientists outfitted each of the astronauts with a pair of convex goggles, which flipped everything in their field of vision 180 degrees. In other words, their world was literally turned upside down. The astronauts had to wear the goggles 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, and even when they were asleep. Though they experienced physical symptoms of anxiety and stress initially, elevated blood pressure, respiration, and other vital signs, they gradually adapted to their new realities. On the 26th day of the experiment, something amazing happened for one of the astronauts. His world turned right side up again, even though he continued to wear the goggles 24 hours a day. Between days 26 and 30, the same thing happened for each of the remaining astronauts. What the scientists discovered is that after 26 to 30 days of this continuous stream of new input, the astronauts' brains actually created neural pathways that rewired their brains to see their worlds normally again. Then NASA repeated the experiment with a slight change. This time, some of the astronauts took the goggles off for a short period of time partway through the experiment. When they put the goggles back on and left them on until the 30th day, their worlds were still upside down. But when they continued on at 26 to 30 consecutive days wearing the goggles, the same thing happened. Everything was suddenly right side up again. What the scientists learned from these experiments is that the brain requires approximately 30 uninterrupted days for new neural connections to form, for new habits to form. In order to change a habit, it's crucial that you put systems in place to ensure you follow the new behavior you have chosen. Otherwise, without thinking, you'll revert to the old behavior. Now, if you want to read this article yourself, there's a link here to where I actually found this article. So, as you can see, and as you can guess, the reason for sharing this article is the basis for the next month of the program, which is the daily focus on a specific goal for a continuous, consecutive 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, we should have some new habits formed, some new neural pathways formed physically in our bodies. Our bodies will change, and as a result, our habits and our experiences will change. So I do get inspiration from the business world. As an entrepreneur, I find healing inspiration in some of the most interesting places. And so there's 2 business books that I found that are perfect examples. I do listen to several business podcasts, and I do find that, the information that these thought leaders are sharing really applies to life in general and improving your life, not just for business. So the first book I want to share with you guys is called The One Thing. And what is the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? In the #1 Wall Street Journal bestseller, Gary Keller has identified that behind every successful person is their one thing. No matter how success is measured, personal or professional, only the ability to dismiss distractions and concentrate on your one thing stands between you and your goals. The one thing is about getting extraordinary results in every situation. Now, I'll be honest, I read enough of this book. I actually got the book from my godson, and I read enough of it to be inspired to start to focus in on one thing and start to ask myself that question. What is the one thing that if I do this one thing, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing I can do that will have a trickle-down effect into everything else? And I did. I began to ask myself this question after reading part of this book. And then there is another book that also inspired me. And this book is called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. Now, again, I'll be 100% honest. I did not read this book entirely, but I did buy the Cliff Note version of the book and got all of the summary of the most important aspects of the book. The way that I came across this one was from a podcast, and I did listen to the author of the book talk about the 4 disciplines of execution and why and how they work and how they're helping people in business to have very, very highly streamlined and successful operations by using this system. And so as I was listening to that, again, I really was instantly able to correlate this information with how we do what we do on our healing journey. And so the 4 disciplines of execution are to, #1, identify and focus upon the wildly important goals. #2, take specific lead actions to achieve the goal. #3, keep a compelling personal record of progress. And #4, have accountability partners. And again, these 4 steps are adapted from this book. The language that they use in the book is a little bit more business oriented, so I have adapted it to language that fits with what we're doing. And of course, energy healing does always come into play. And so these are not business books per se. This is all about healing work energy. And as you know, I've been inspired to explore whole life wellness from the standpoint of everything being energy. And so Dr. Brad Nelson's book, Bruce Lipton's book, Louise Hay's books, Abraham Hicks, and Peter Fraser's books are some of my greatest influences. And as I began to focus on their thought leadership and practice implementing their ideas, it led me to practice with an exclamation point. It's not just any kind of practice, guys. It took me a year worth of doing 30-day challenges to practice deepening my self-awareness, practicing self-healing, and moving into a deeper awareness of self-love. And let me tell you a little bit about that. So it was a few years ago that I decided to do my first 30-day challenge. I was learning and reading and listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks videos. And one day I just realized, I'm listening to this information. I think that it's all good. But am I really practicing any of it? Am I really actually implementing any of these things that I'm learning? And the answer to that question was no. No, I was not. And so at that point in time, I decided I'm just going to do this. I'm going to practice doing this every day for 30 days. And in the Abraham Hicks information, there's some mindfulness practices. And so I did that, and I had really great results. And so then maybe some months went by, and I did another 30-day challenge for myself. And then I did another. And so in 2016, I found that I continually did these 30-day challenges. And every time I did it, I was expanded and noticed definite changes in my experiences, my attitudes, my behavior, my understanding, my self-awareness, all of that. And I discovered my one thing. And this was my big aha. And I'll share with you what all those months of focus and practice showed me to be the most important activity that I could undertake for permanent and lasting change. But first, I want to talk about a few foundational things that will help you to continue on your healing journey. So first of all, what is your wildly important goal? Now, we have, through our program, we have talked about setting intentions. What are the intentions? What is it that we really want to create? So earning more money for some people, having better health for most of us, experiencing better relationships, losing weight, finding your purpose. Your wildly important goal can be any one of these, or it can be something else. But the point is that needs to be identified. Clarity around that particular aspect is very important. What are the lead actions that would make it possible? Is it healing your energy, learning to meditate and be mindful, letting go of baggage and resistance to change, replacing bad habits with better ones, discovering root causes, or any of these or all of them? Or these are all the things that we've been practicing. And tracking your progress. I do highly recommend to everyone to keep a journal. And so we'll use the term journal loosely. How you journal is completely up to you. So you can use words, you can write things down, you can draw sketches, doodles, you can do voice recordings, or you can use vision boards. Whatever method of journaling you decide to do is perfectly fine. But for this practice and for the remaining weeks of this experience, it is really important for you to track your progress in some way. Having quarterly check-ins with yourself, beyond this program, if you continue to do this work, reading through your journal entries will give you a great insight into your results. Things will be changing and shifting, and unless you record them somehow, it's usually difficult for us human beings to keep track of that type of thing going on. Okay. And then finally, having accountability, your support system, and having weekly meetings with me as your accountability partner will help prevent disengagement from your process. And there are other ways you can set up and maintain a support system as well. So take some time to think about what ways you will implement as you continue on practicing your tools. All right, so there's a bunch of messages coming through. I'm going to see if I can silence this so that it stops. There we go. Maybe that'll do it. Okay, so hopefully that muted those dings coming through. Never fails, right? As soon as I start to record, people are wanting to talk to me. All right, so let's recap and discuss implementation. So we just talked about 30 days of focus or receptivity will result in new habits. So I say focus or receptivity. As part of human design, there's an awareness that some people are designed for focus and some people are designed just to be receptive. So actually forcing yourself to focus on things if you're a receptive type person probably won't work so well. However, if you are a person who needs to focus and just being receptive might not work for you. So that's something that you have to discover for yourself. And I can tell you, at another time, if you want to ask me about that, how to know which type you are, if you're a more focused person or a more being receptive person. And you want to focus on or be receptive to one top level thing that will result in many lower level goals being met. You want to implement the 4 disciplines of execution. This will give you a foolproof system for getting the wildly important goals in your life accomplished. Sorry. Sip some tea. And your 13-week total wellness experience has already implemented the 4 disciplines for you. See what I did there? All right. So in our 13-week program, we have practiced getting clear, mindful, meditative, and contemplative. Asking yourself, do you know what you really want? Do you know why you really want it? Do you know what the one thing is that if you did it would make everything work out with ease? This is how we find our wildly important goal. During our 13 weeks, we've already learned new tools for healing energy and clearing resistance. So these are our lead generating tools, right? Using Nest protocols, the emotion code, and other energy healing to remove resistance, making self-healing, self-awareness, and self-love a daily priority, and using your knowledge of your own energy systems through human design to grow in the direction of your wildly important goal. This is how we use lead actions to achieve the wildly important goal. And we have been encouraged to journal and record our progress, and keeping track of your progress for later reflection in a way that is simple, easily accessible, and visible to you, and includes your actions and your results. This is how we measure our success. And I put this picture of this little kid's drawing in a journal because that's what journaling can look like for you. I mean, you can do it however you want, as I already mentioned. You can keep and record your progress as long as it's simple for you, easily accessible and visible, and includes your actions and your results. And finally, once again, having an accountability partner working with me on this journey has given this process built-in support. So you can see how this 13-week total wellness program was designed to give you all the tools that today's thought leaders, cutting-edge healers, and your own inner wisdom need to be successful in your healing progress. So now you've identified your one thing, and it can be anything. And the key is commitment to daily practice of it for at least 30 days. Now, I promised you that I would share with you my one thing. And if you'll recall from the last module, module number 5, affirmations are my one thing. And this is the same information that I shared with you in the last module, but again, it's very important. This is the clarity that I came to when doing, looking at my intentions and looking at the top level things that I could do. And it all just kept coming back to how I think and feel about what it is that I want to create. And if I think and feel about what I want to create in the most benevolent, affirmative way, then I will attract the energy of that, and that experience has to come to me. But sometimes it's difficult to think and feel in the direction of our preferred experiences or the things that we really want to create, because we have a lot of baggage and we have a lot of other stuff that comes up, right? So repeating the affirmation literally shifts the energy. even if you're still in a place where you don't 100% feel or even believe. Wayne Dyer said, believing is seeing. And how do we get ourselves to the point where we believe something? Well, it's just a process of repetition. It's a process of daily practice, consistent, consecutive daily practice. And so this is my statement for what an affirmation is. And when I do an affirmation, what I'm doing is that I affirm in the present moment the truth of my desired experience while reaching for the feeling and the vision of it. As I affirm, it is without doubt that the truth of my preferred experience or something better is entirely possible, entirely probable, and already existing somewhere. As I affirm, it is with the knowledge that I am actually creating within myself the vibration of my preferred experience, the feeling of it, which is the first manifestation, because everything is created twice. Once as a thought, feeling, vibration, and once as a physical event. And as I affirm, it is with the knowledge that what I have become, this vibration, is attracted to me. It has to enter my experience per the law of attraction. And finally, as I affirm, it is with the knowledge that this moment is the only one. This moment is the only one. I'll say it one more time. This moment is the only one. Let that sink in. And I must use it deliberately to my advantage. So I encourage you to do this last 30 days, these last 4 weeks of your one thing every day. I've encouraged you to create affirmations around the one thing that you've determined to be your intention for this healing journey. Do this every day for the next 30 days. As you use your mindfulness practice to reach alpha, reach for the feeling of your affirmations as you say it in the infinite potential of the present moment. Use your clearing tools to release resistance that may come up. Record your observations. And share a post that says, I did it, or something in your own words in the Facebook group. Even post a picture or do a live stream, whatever you choose. That just promotes the accountability factor that you're doing your work and that the other people in the group get the benefit of knowing that you're there to support them as they do theirs. And finally, another manifesto. This one is the Practice Manifesto. And you will find a copy of this Practice Manifesto in the module. You can download as a PDF. If you decide that you would like to print this out and post it someplace where you can see it every day. And the Practice Manifesto is simply I, Crystal, commit to myself to practice the one thing that will make it possible for me to experience more self-love. I commit to myself to practice for a minimum of 30 consecutive days. I affirm that as I practice this one thing, I discover great life-changing things about myself and I create preferred experiences for myself. So be it, and so it is. All right, so that is week 6, the practice module. And if you guys have any questions or anything that you would like to share, please feel free to connect with me or share in the group. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Namaste, everyone, and I hope that this next leg of the journey is as exciting and fruitful for you as I know it will be for me.